Okay, now let's get started with inheritance. So, inheritance is a feature of object oriented programming which allows us to extend and reuse code. The class which extends the properties of another class is called derived class. The class from which the derived class extends is called base class. So, let's take an example. So, here we can see a class named person and it has the following class variables inside the public access specifier: string name, string gender, long int mobile number. And it also has a member function void get details. Now let us take a look at another class named passenger. So it has the class variables declared under the public access specifier: string name, string gender, long int mobile number, string ticket number, string coach preference, and the member function void get details. Now we can notice that class passenger has member variables including the member variables of the class person, and it also has its own member variables, mainly string ticket number and string coach preference. That is to say that the class passengers has all the member variables and functions of the class person. So string name, string gender, long int mobile number are present in class passenger along with string ticket number and string coach preference. Also, the member function for both of these classes are the same. Since the class passenger has all the properties of the class person, we can say that the class passenger has inherited the properties of class person. So person here is known as the base class and passenger is known to be the derived class. So this means that the passenger derives all the properties of the base class in addition to its own properties. So you can see representation of how inheritance is represented in code: class, passenger, a colon, then the access specifier public here, and the base class which is person. So this whole code is equivalent to this. You can see the code has shortened. So this essentially means that the passenger class has inherited the member variables as well as the member functions of the base class person in addition to its two new member variables. So the derived class can access the base class properties in addition to its own properties as specified. So let's look at the example in detail. So this is the base class person. Now I've added some definition to the void get details function, which is mainly taking the name, gender, and mobile number from the user. And in the class passenger, I've added a new function void get add details, which is of its own, which takes the ticket number and coach preference from the user. So now in the main function, inside the main function, I have created an object of class passenger. As you can see now, a.getDetails has been written over here, and this is because the passenger has inherited all the properties of person. So the member variable, string name, string gender, long int mobile number, and the member function void get details has been added to derived class, which is passenger over here. So we don't need to write it over here. We only need to write the member functions and variables which the class passenger has of its own. So that is to say string ticket number, string coach preference, and the member function void get additional details. So as specified, A can use the get details of the class person, and now it is using its own member function void get additional details, which is represented in terms of object a dot get additional details. Now let's learn more about the access specifier. We have mainly three access specifiers: public access specifier, protected access specifier, and private access. So when the access specifier in the base class is public and we inherit it as public, this is a public inheritance, then we can see from the following table that when the access specifier is public, the inherited class also has it public. When it is protected, it also has protected. But when it is private in the base class, the inherited class cannot access. Next one is the protected inheritance. So when the base class has public access specifier, the access specifier and inherited is taken as protected. This is same for the protected case in the base class, and when it is private, it is again inaccessible. But the catch is when we talk about private inheritance. So when the access specifier is public, protected, or private in the base class, it is inherited as private but is not inaccessible. So now let's see in the code. Okay, now let's check out the code part. So let me include the header first. Oops. Now let me go ahead and create a class person. Uh, don't forget to put a semicolon here. Now under the private access specifier, let me give int ssn. Under the public access specifier, let me give string name, string gender as of now, and under the protected access specifier, let me give string color. Let me create a derived class, that is class passenger, which first inherits person publicly. Let us go first with public inheritance. So name of the derived class, which is passenger, followed by a colon, then the access specifier. So I'm going with public now, followed by a space and the name of the parent class or the base class. This is person over here. Don't forget to put semicolon again. Now under the public access specifier here, let me go ahead and create two new variables, which is string ticket number, string coach preference. Now in the inside the main function, let me create an object now, passenger A. Name of the object is A. So for the public inheritance, we cannot access SSN. Is under the private access specifier of the base class. Objects cannot access the private access specifier member variables. So a dot ssn is equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6 is not okay. Compiler shows the same, is inaccessible. But we can access the name and gender under the public access. A dot name dot assign John. Perfectly okay. Same as the case with gender. Let's check out color. Now, as you may know about protected, only the derived classes can use the member variables and functions under the protected access specifier. That is to say, objects cannot use the member variables under the protected access specifier. So color is inaccessible for object A. Color assign. Let me give red. This should not be accessible. Compiler shows the same. Okay. Now what in case of inside the derived class? Now inside the derived class, let me write a function void update name, for instance. So we can access the name and gender as usual. Let's see, name dot assign John. This is completely okay. Same is the case with gender. But protected can also be accessible. So color dot assign red is fine, but you cannot access SSN even inside the derived class because it is under the private access specifier over here. The compiler shows the error for the same. SSN dot assign the int, so you can write it. This will show an error inaccessible. Okay. Now let us move on with the protected inheritance. So the derived class has to inherit the base class. The access specifier now protect. So all of this become public and protected will now become protected, but private will still be inaccessible. That is to say, now the member variables under the public access specifier and protected access specifier of the base class cannot be accessed by the objects, but can be accessed by the derived class. Let's check it out. A dot name dot assign John. This is not okay. Specified this is inaccessible. Same is the case with gender and color. Let's check it out inside the derived class now. So let me write void change color. Now the color, the variables color, gender and name can be accessed by class passenger. Let's see, name dot assign John. This is completely fine. Now color dot assign yellow. This is also fine. Same is the case with gender. But private will always remain inaccessible. So SSN is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not okay. Compiler will show the error for the same. This inaccessible. Okay, now let us move on with last type of inheritance based on access specifier, which is private inheritance. So again, private will be inaccessible. Is corrected. This will be inaccessible and not private. But public and protected now will now become private. That is to say that objects can still not cannot access. Objects now cannot access any of the variables. Let's see how. Okay, now let me change this to private. So the derived class can access the public and protected class variables, but still cannot access the private variables. A now cannot access any of the variables of the base class. A dot let me say dot gender dot assign n. This is not okay. This will be inaccessible, as you can see here. Same is the case with other variables here. Inside the derived class, we can still access the name and gender and the color, but we cannot access SSN. Let's see, SSN is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be inaccessible. Oh, we have to first include function first, void update. For instance, SSN is equal to 123456. So this will be inaccessible, you can see, but name, gender, and color will be accessible. But now they will be treated as private variables for the derived class passenger. So that's it for this video. We'll discuss the types of inheritance, mainly multiple inheritance, and many more in the next video. Uh, Thank you for watching.